Hey guys, thanks for tapping in on this video. I want to remind you that we are crowdfunded and dream-driven around here. If you would like to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/pigeons420. With your support, we can interview some of the biggest minds in our space right here. Thank you so much to our members. Thank you so much to our patrons for supporting the show, and thank you for watching today's conversation.
Yo, guys, I am excited. We have got the dude from Dude Grows on the line in Stooges, and I'm very excited about it. As I mentioned, Scotty and Dude were two of the first people that I interviewed on my channel. It feels like it was years ago now. So I'm really excited to get into this. So without further ado, Brett, how's it going, man? Good to see you.
Dude, the dude is Lebowski, okay? I call myself a hybrid. When people are like, oh, like, you're Lebowski, I'm like, I like some of his attributes, but not all of them, you know? I'm not writing a check for milk or anything, but super stoked to hang. Let's have a good night. I usually don't get to party this time of the eve, and just let loose. So, and also let somebody else hold the reins and do the show. So excited to be here, Pigeons. Thank you.
Dude, I like I said, I really appreciate it, man. This is the late night, so please feel free to relax, let loose. You can say what you like, smoke what you like, have some fun, because that's what it's all about. And I wanted to thank you for coming on, because as humble as you are, the Lebowski has nothing on you, sir. You are Dude from Dude Grows. There are so many people that totally equate you with old school YouTube cannabis nostalgia. Not to make you feel old at all.
No worries. You know, I mean, starting, man, before the podcast, before the Dude Grows show, as the said dude, I started a Dude Grows YouTube channel. Man, I don't know if it was 09 in Colorado. It was back in the day. And it was just nice to get information out there. Simple videos, not too much flavor, but I wanted to deliver information that wasn't like, I don't know, the Grass City forums. Some of the forums were good, but you really had to pick through them to see what was what you wanted to go with or not. So just some basic information videos. And that was a lot of fun because Colorado opened up a little bit, so I didn't feel like they were going to come knock on my door.
Dude, I 100% know what you feel like in regards to A, working the forums, B, trying to find one that had like solid information, and then C, having to worry about posting on forums and then not have to worry about anyone coming after you, because being in Canada, you know, I was being medical and I kind of took that path as well. And that alleviates a lot of stress, not having to worry.
No, you're preaching. You said being medical. That's one thing. I'm guilty of it. You know, I'm in Canada as well. I'm on the west side over here, Vancouver Metro. You're over there in, you're a couple hours out of Winnipeg, right?
Correct.
Manitoba area.
Yep.
And wherever you're at, I don't care if it's Canada, the States. And again, I'm slacking on this, but if you can get your medical stuff going, one, you might save money. Two, you got a legal defense to stand on if something crazy happens. You know, we've all been out there as tokers, where, you know, you're out going for a drive, you're doing whatever, you're not high, you're feeling fine, but you forgot you left a bowl or a dugout in the passenger side compartment or whatever. And if you get in an accident or something happens, a medical defense is literally, and we've had attorneys on the Dude Grow show about this, something to stand on. So I get it. People sometimes say, I don't want to be on that list. But if you can get medical, it can really help, as well as with kids, all kinds of stuff. It can really help your lifestyle.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because you're right. I was always told it's not a free pass to just toke, but it's a defense to toke, so that, you know, it's like, I can't just whip out my card at an officer and be like, yo, can't touch me because I got my medical. You know, they're going to arrest you. They're going to take you downtown, and you're probably going to spend a little bit of time in jail. But the reality is that when you face the judge, that's when you get to plead your case. That's when you have an argument. Because, you know, we do still have overzealous cops that, you know, or whatever, that, you know, if you get found with whatever, wherever, or if you're driving, that's still another one in particular, if something happens and you're driving. So, yeah, it's a defense. And, you know, I'm thankful that I have it, because there was a, you know, I spoke with Todd McCormick, and he was telling me about the, you know, people dying, people losing their pets and stuff. And man, it's a much better world we live in today than it was back then.
Or plant count, right? You know, here in Canada, they do I call it the Freedom 4, whatever. But in other places, states, wherever you're at, medical can really help plant count as well. You know, some people just completely do want to follow the law. Sometimes I talk about plant count being like, well, do you ever roll that stop sign? That's kind of how I look at plant count sometimes. But there are some states and areas where you can get in a bit more trouble depending on what their plant count is. It can be sometimes just a fine or a knock on the door, fix that. Other times it can be more of a misdemeanor felony situation. So it's nice, again, to have just that buffer, something on your side. So go for it.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. Good insight. Man, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who is Brett? Who is Dude? What's it like? What's it like?
That's deep. First off, I never named myself Dude. I had anybody from my water polo coach back in the day to a 70-year-old cashier at the store, just always just been like, hey, yeah, this dude. Hey, dude. It's like, okay, I'll roll with that. You could be called worse, 100%. I didn't really fall into using cannabis, you know, on an understanding way until 19 to 20 when I first started road tripping. Sometimes 3 weeks to 30-day road trips with some buddies in the States and getting out and hiking and camping. And, you know, Pigeons, you like the outdoors. You like that reset. I've seen some of your videos where you get out there.
You're darn right.
And it goes, that's when I really realized cannabis went hand in hand with being out there, being in nature and stuff. And so I could be called a late bloomer, maybe compared to some people. But really tie those two together. And to this day, still, I'm a very avid mountain biker. I say, I'll just give some of my mantras. Like, one is like, do what you will while you're able. You know, and if you can find something that in your life that moves you, and I hate to use the word exercise, moves you, gets you off your feet, and you're passionate about it, or you like it, that's like so better than I got to go to the gym, you know? So I'm an advocate of those things. And I guess lastly, I stole this one from a big surfer, Laird Hamilton. And this one's hard, I guess, unless you got like bank and you're chilling out. He had this quote, let the day dictate the day. And if you can do that sometimes, I try to practice it on the weekends when I'm, quote, like off work, you know, because we all got to hustle. We got to create content. You know, you have your day job, whatever it is. You guys listening, you girls listening. It's easy to say let the day dictate the day when you got to pay the bills. But sometimes on the weekend and stuff, will you let what's happening to you, whether it's weather or, I don't know, it could be a family member upset, letting the day dictate the day a little bit and try and navigate through it with flexibility. So if that answered the question, I'm not sure, but throw out some mantras, I guess.
That's fair. Hey, that's fair. No, you know what? Those are good mantras to live by. First of all, I think the first step is having a mantra to live by. That's the first thing. That gives you purpose. Having purpose can be very difficult to find sometimes, particularly as young men. And, you know, if you can fall back on some words of wisdom, that's your foundation, right? It can't get deeper. It can't fall farther than that. If you have that's your motivation for the next step. And one of the most powerful things I heard was your goals should have goals. And it really puts into the kind of perspective, like, what's your goal for 5 years from now or 10 years? What do you want to do when you're older? It's like, okay, well, what's it going to take you to get there? What's it going to take you to get there in 6 months? What's it going to take you to, you know, what's your 1 week plan? What do you have to do every single day? So that like, yeah, I could really appreciate mantras and you know, having that foundation to live by. You told me we were Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It, cannabis, totally weed, cannabis, marijuana, whatever you want to roll with. It totally helps that. I don't do it enough to where you sit down and I take a lot of, I'm a lightweight, right? I take a lot of one hits during the day, a lot of puffs, but it is when I rip that bong or Grambo caught me when we were on our last trip to the Midwest for this event, Common Fairground. I coughed really hard off just trying to fully rip this bowl clean. And he's like, you got to cough to get off. I'm like, dude, I was high for the next 2.5 hours off that hit. I'm like, you're right. But it sometimes that the cannabis puts you into that self-evaluation mode. I think we've all felt it. It can be fun, social. Of course, you guys do a show. We all love to get high and laugh. And I call it, the joint is a talking stick. But other times by yourself or whatever, with your partner or whoever, it can put you in a self-evaluation mode in a good way, where you start to look at stuff, not too paranoid, not too crazy, but I've found it at times just to make me look at myself, which I really like.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like to be retrospective often. I like to reflect all the time. To the saying though, you need to cough to get off. Yes, that is true, but that's not the level of, that's not the direction I like to go with my high. I can get to the same feeling without coughing, because the harshness that it takes, like it's like when you cough with that smoke in your lungs, I die, dude. I just think you're killing brain cells as much as you are like expanding smoke to your lungs, kind of thing. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of coughing at all. I rather just hold for a half second, boom, get it out.
What's your daily driver? I don't like. You're younger than me. I'm old man 47 here.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
So you don't.
This is it. This is every day.
All right.
First thing in the morning to the left.
Flower.
Yep.
Flower power.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I dig. Yeah.
Yeah. Troy would give me a hard time. Troy and Jerry would give me a hard time because I'm not using the ball vape, which I should. And my doctor gives me the same criticism. But yeah, I'm a bong guy, dude. I love that. And then it's like, and the thing is like have an electronic that I gotta like go down and start up. Is like it sometimes just is the brakes when I need full acceleration.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll fist bump. As I say to that, is like when they show me these devices, I got enough freaking batteries in my life, man. I'm trying to not implement more. I got enough stuff to charge and keep track of. So like, there's glass, there's simple everything we need to smoke. I need a lighter and I need this.
Do you think the waves? Do you think the brain waves are fucking with us? Do you think it's fucking with our brains? Like the waves, the wavelengths of batteries and Wi-Fi and electronics and shit?
Oh, I don't go.
It's time to go.
One of those things where it could be a rabbit hole. I meet with my neighbor that lives across the way that I think he half likes to have just, I'm going to mess with you, dude. And he's like, do you believe the earth's flat? And he says, no, it's like a hot dog. But then he also says that he's only sick when he travels through 5G zones. Do I know about all this? Well, I know the earth's not a hot dog. I'll put that out there. But as far as all the other stuff, man, it's time in the day, pigeons. It's like, how much time in the day do I have to go into? Could these things be true? For sure. But man, there's so much things that need to be qualified and fact checked where I don't know which one to fully focus on sometimes between what's really important to me.
That's such a good answer, dude. The real answer is I don't fucking know either. That was the real answer too. But yeah, I have no idea. But what I can appreciate is that you didn't whip out your phone and try to Google it to determine if there was a right answer or not. So that's okay. Yeah. That's okay, because
that will get scary soon. I think I did it in a long-winded way, and a lot of people don't want to say, and we all have to continue to learn on it. It's so okay to say, I don't know. And that's the only 3 words you have to somebody after they talked at you for 4 minutes. It's okay. You can do that.
It is okay. Yeah, that is 100% right. So dude, do you mind if I call you dude? What's the best way people should introduce themselves as to you?
As to me,
Yes, I did say that wrong. What's the best thing
what's
people should
up,
call
dude?
you?
Like, what's up, dude? Hey,
What's
dude,
up,
dude,
dude? Yep, dude. See that, and that,
anything,
see, and as someone who's
dude.
Canadian, that kind of fits my repertoire kind of just perfectly. So dude, so how did you and Scotty get acquainted for Dude Grows?
I originally met Scotty. I moved to Florida, and that was early 2000. Yeah, like 2001, 2000. My girl was going down to Florida Atlantic University, and I'll keep this short but sweet. It's a good story. And of course, when you move somewhere new, you want connects. Like, where can I get freaking weed around here? Like, I'm new to this spot. I don't have any connects. We're scraping resin out of the bowl. Like, that's not fun for the weekend, but it works. So I'm like, you know what? I bet you if we go to, there's like a Grateful Dead cover band at some pier. I'm like, oh, Grateful Dead cover band. Like, we're going to find some weed. Like, there's going to be some stuff going on. And so went down to this pier, me and my girl, and saw the show. Went out during mid set, like their break. Of course, everybody goes out and they toke down on the pier, and I just started talking to people. One of them was Scotty. He busted out a joint. We shared a joint, and I said I need to get more weed, and here's my number. And that turned in from a little weed connect to hanging out with a buddy and seeing my first Florida grow, which enough time has passed. When Scotty showed me his grow for the first time, he opened these hidden doors that I thought went to somewhere else. He's like, if you tell anybody, I'll kill you. And really, he just needed help trimming. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell, man. We met down in Florida. I moved to Colorado. Once I was there, I had to call him and say it's so much more open here, which is why he moved to Colorado. In Florida, he was looking at, for you have mandatory minimums, we'll say, and he had a kid, and you can't live with that over your head having a kid. So he's like, I gotta get out of here. Like, you come to Colorado, there's none of that shit. You get your med card and you can operate. So
That's sweet, man. And the rest was where they lived happily ever after. Hmm? Yep. Uh,
I don't know if anything's happy ever after forever, but
no,
yeah.
hey, you know what? You know what? It seems like you guys jive very well. You are great uh, counters to each other in the same way that I work with Rob and Chris. Rob, Chris,
Yeah,
and
like
I
you
are
guys.
vastly different from each other. I'll be honest, and it's what brings us together, and I think it's what keeps things fresh and keeps things exciting. Is because we can have a conversation. And shout out to Scotty. Scotty was, as I mentioned earlier on at the top of the show, you and Scotty were the first interview that I did on my channel. And I'm telling you, brother, it was your interview that made me realize, A, I want to do this better, but
Yeah.
B, holy crikey, it takes a lot of work to do it, because I knew I wasn't going to do it like everybody else. But your episode, for some reason, I had audio issues syncing up audio. It didn't work very well. And I posted it out. But it was nice to be able to have Scotty on and then have you on, because you guys are awesome. But as I was gonna, I segued. So to get back to what I was saying, Scotty's a great guy. He's a handful, but he's a handful of joy, and he's very loud. How is working with him? How is working with him? What does that feel like every day?
It's great. It's one thing I would say, doing things in person. You've experienced this, whether people listening that have had to use Zoom for during a period for work mandatory. Whenever you're remote with stuff, whether we're podcasters, you're talking to a friend, you're FaceTiming, it's a little bit harder than being in person, of course, because in person there's so many more cues. It could be anything. It could be the slightest breath. It could be the slightest movement of the face. I know Joe Rogan, for a while, he was trying to do remote interviews during COVID, and he's like, I can't do this. Having people, and when I go back to visit the boys in the studio, it's so much better to be in person. I know you guys have tried to crank out a bunch of your episodes at once, when you guys are all together, to try and have that value to conversation. So that's the only real challenge, man. When we're hanging out together, it's great. Once I know the bakery, that's where we record the Dude Grow show at in Fort Collins, Colorado, has another guest or two guests in, I almost bow out. Like, I'm the guy, like over here, and it's really hard to get your voice. I always joke, I think they're probably almost ready for me to get a 3D like rendering of me standing up like virtually, so like I'm kind of there. But man, nothing beats in-person conversation would be the story to that, you know. And technology's great, it facilitates a lot of things, but I always miss the in-person conversation.
Yeah. No, we're the same way. And when it comes to cues, body language, breath, there's so many things. There's so many things. That's why I appreciate you walking up to my window and just standing there and having this conversation with me right here because it's perfect. So it's in person. But the reality is yes, you know, being in person is way better. And you know, Scotty is this biggest sweetheart. He's so warm. He's so welcoming. Had me in the bakery, and you know they were working, even though he's like, yeah, come over for 2, and so I get there at like 10 after 2, and they're still going, and I walked in mid episode. Actually, you were on there. You were live at that time,
Yeah,
if I'm
yeah.
not mistaken. Yeah,
Great.
yeah, and you know he said, come in, come in. But one thing I do want to compliment you on, is your studio, is your backdrop. Because I've said this before in the last time we had a conversation, Dude Grows has been around for a very long time, and having a setup, having a studio your setup is a large inspiration of how this all got started. Was because I wanted to have something that was like welcoming and warming, and your studio, this one included, is very nice. I like the green color, I like the theme, I like the backdrop. Tell me about it. Is that your average smoking spot right there?
Well, shout out to what you got going on with your other screen. The way you've set up your stuff to beat this, the standard StreamYard look is dope. So
Thank
back
you.
at you. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
Here, what I like for people to see is like this tank over here. It's aquaponically planted with an open top, and I love to use fish water to water all types of plants. All these plants in the window, these are alive. This grow tent, I'm doing pretty good with my fingers
You're doing
pointing as
good.
we're
It's all
smoking a
backwards.
bowl. It's usually top or yeah, uh, is going away because I never grow anything in there, and I'm getting another big fish tank because I like the background of me to be living, and I will never have like a bad use for fish water. I water all kinds of house plants. I give the grow tent plants a hit with fish water to like diversify those microbes with some crazy fish hit stuff. So I want another fish tank over here, which I've already bought. I just got to find a good stand for because that's just empty green space, right? So, yeah, trying to get a little street cred, I guess, in the background if I can.
I love it. I love the idea of having life back there. That's genius, dude. And the fact that you're not only bringing life back there, because I think life in plants and organisms, I think that inspires creativity, but you're also reusing the water in the garden. That's genius. That's genius.
The tanks just chug along. It's so easy. They're open top. They only need a heater and a recirculator, and I'm always adding so much fresh water. Not to get off subject. I don't want to bore the people.
There is no subject.
But
There are no people. It's just you and
but
me.
yeah, it's fun to see, yeah, nature work like that, you know, and be able to have it be cyclical.
No, it's great. That's awesome. And is that where you primarily smoke?
Yeah, you did ask me that. No, not habitually with my times when we're doing the podcast. I always save my first toke of the day for when we're doing the show.
Mhm.
When we record 2 times a week, and then I also always have a cold brew coffee ready. It's kind of like, you know, different whatever late night show hosts might have their ritual, but I do have a
Yep.
ritual to do the show. I want my first smoke of the day to be for the top of the show, and literally within about 10 minutes of getting into it, it starts to really blend into that talking stick, that conversation piece where weed helps us all just chat and hang out. Other than this, I smoke mainly, no, mainly, a lot of places in the house. My kids are grown now. My son loves to smoke. He's very regimented with it though. And
How old is
but
he?
outside would be my, he is 20.
Oh,
So
wow. Good for you, Dad.
yeah,
That's exciting.
yes, you know, I guess Oh, 100%. Well, I know you got that 13. I think you got a 13-year-old that plays hockey
Just turned
per my
14.
research.
Yes, just turned 14.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
which is intense. But my favorite place to smoke, I'll throw that in there, would be usually it's outside somewhere chilling. I went out and I found a campsite on a lake and nothing I know. I'm detached. I have no cell phone service. Uh, I know I have none for the next day and just zoning out. That's one of my favorite places because you can't smoke too much. You just be like, what's up outdoors?
That's
So,
genius. That's genius. So, first of all, I totally can appreciate getting outside and smoking. You did say that earlier. Like, I love outside. When you and I were talking earlier, I mentioned the time of the show, and you said that that's fine. I'm going biking. You didn't say biking. You didn't say cycling. You said something. What was it?
oh, before today's show,
Yeah, yeah. You said I was gonna go. It had something to do with
mountain
biking.
biking.
Yeah,
Oh, I just went out mountain biking, did my
yeah.
mountain
That's
biking
what
run.
maybe
I
that's
said
what it
it'll
was.
be a good time. It'll be a good time to catch me to jive because after mountain biking, I usually toke down, have a pint or two. It's like I've completed my day. I've earned it. So yeah, got a mountain bike ride in today, and it always, again, when you exercise or do anything, it makes you just more relaxed to sit down and converse.
I get it. I get it. Keeps the mind going, man. We're creatives. Like I'm a creative being, and I feel like getting outside, being in nature, that's one of those things, and keeping the blood flowing and the heart thinking. That's where it's like, that's where creative juices come from. What is, what's a day in the life like for you? So from the crack of dawn to right now.
The crack.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm sleeping at the crack of dawn.
Yeah.
I have
Good.
I have a
Good.
different schedule. Not much of a different schedule. You know, I get up pretty early, and I have a wife in corporate world. Help her get to work, hang out for a few, and then typically I'll go back to bed for a bit because I will stay up pretty late sometimes. You know, sometimes I get creative at the end of the night when the house is done. You know, it could be my daughter's 14, she's asleep. My wife's chilling. And it's like, man, the house is really quiet right now. This is kind of a good time to get some stuff done. But day to day, it always changes. I always want it to change and not be too regimented. You know, you want something to. I said earlier, like, can let the day dictate the day, and what does that mean? I'm going to look at what opportunities or non-opportunities are the most possible during this day and try and wrap my schedule around it. Other than the solids, like, you know, we record Mondays, we record Wednesdays, or some things that are as solid in the schedule. But when it's not a solid schedule, so let's say a Thursday is a day that I don't typically have anything that's right on my calendar, and Friday, kind of want to figure out what's the most important things to do those days and let it be flexible. So
That's a good way to do it. Don't keep yourself too stale. That's fair.
you get in trouble. I mean, you can get, like, when I say let the day dictate the day, I'm like, this looks like a great day to mountain bike for half of the day. And you're like, no, you got a lot of other shit to do, man. So, like, you can definitely get in trouble with that, 100%. And,
Yeah, you're not
you
wrong.
know, I don't like I go with the flow too much. There's obviously, business to take care of at times that take precedent.
From times to time. Yeah, from time to time. Um, what do you think of autoflowers? What's your stance on autoflowers?
Oh, I like it. Let's switch it up to grow talk. My stance on autoflowers. I don't like the saying where it's like, oh, if you're a new grower, you shouldn't grow these. Because that will be said because if you screw up an autoflower during its growth period, it's on the schedule. The clock doesn't stop. Our photo periods have a vegetative state of growth. So if we mess up in veg, we can correct it and then go to bloom. We have more control, really. But for somebody that wants to throw a few, easiest way outside, during the summer, wherever you live, you can finish, by late July, early August, whatever. Avoid the end of the season. Have some cute autoflowers on your patio. Throw it into all amended in organic mix, so you probably don't even have to give it much but water. And then just, what do you have to lose? Especially, it's a conversation starter. Uh, if you just get some seeds, are getting more and more affordable. So I like it. Autoflowers also for people that might have a loose like control over light. I was just thinking about this. I was going to grow in my tent upstairs soon, which I would want to have the complete light control. Like during the day, I need it to be dark. And I'm like, dude, there's a sunny window there. I know it's a grow tent. So autoflowers work well in that situation where you don't have to completely worry about them getting hermed out from light cycle. You know what I mean? Because they're going to go. So 18 hours on, pretty much you can find your 6 hours of darkness at any time. But I'm a full fan. They have come so far as quality. You used to be able to look at them to end my rant. Sorry, not a rant, but you asked. And be like, that's an autoflower. We'd feature Dank Nugs on the show. That's an autoflower. Look at this. That's an autoflower. And we've seen them at the DGC Cup where there's autoflowers entered and you could not tell at all it was an autoflower versus a photo period. So I give them thumbs up for sure.
Of course. Yeah. Good answer. Good answer. I get a lot of flack, and I think you probably will too now. Way to go. But I also think that autos are great for beginners. You can have one tent, you can grow it through veg, flower. You only need one light. That's more affordable. The biggest argument that people say that why they shouldn't or why they're not for beginners is because, well, if you fuck it up, it's done. It's stunted. And my answer to that is, well, if you're a beginner and you fuck up a photo, it's done too. Way to go. Bravo. I don't understand the argument. That maybe there is a little more bounce back, but the reality is that if you're just getting started, understanding bounce back and more nutrients that's way beyond. So I just feel like don't know anything. Throw a photo or an auto in, one light, one tent, and you can start the next cycle too while the first one's flowering. So yeah, a huge proponent, but a lot of people get bent about that. They do not. They're like, no. But for the reason,
it's important. Do your research. Like you got to understand their nutritional needs as you go along. You don't want that hiccup with an auto because it'll cost you in yield and everything. So that's just as long as you understand the nutritional needs, or again, if you're in organic living soil, your microbes do the work for you. But it's do them both. Do it all. That's what I do. An auto, do a photo, and then also do a clone. Get a rooted clone from a friend. Try some bare root clones and root them yourself. Things are very accessible now, so that's what I love.
Yep, and do it naked. Yep. You don't have to. You don't have to. But I find it's a great pest management.
Oh yeah, just that way you don't have any bugs coming in on the clothing.
No bugs, no pollen, no hair, no nothing. Nope, no nothing. Yeah, it's a good way to keep it understand. Yeah. So are you growing?
Turn off the time lapse camera when that goes on.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of cameras around here. That's the thing about sharing the studio with the grow tent. What are you growing right now?
I just harvested Rockstar. It's just Rockstar, OG strain. Apparently not OG like OG, like just old school strain. I got that from a buddy that grows an 16 lighter at times, and he'll order from like the free market cut market, and usually they're pheno hunted pretty good. You're gonna get a pretty good winner. So I'm literally have one more plant to trim tonight. I was gonna ask you that. I had 12 plants to harvest.
I'm not gonna help
5
you.
gals, and it takes me 1 hour. Yeah, 1 hour per plant, which isn't horrible. But I'm like, damn, like I don't like sitting down for more than 1 hour doing this. So what I do is I turn my AC all the way down in my bloom room. I don't have anything waiting to go in. So that room can hold them. So it runs around 54. My humidity is around 58. So it's almost like its own storage cell while I'm slowly trimming them. But I almost got those all done. What's on the front is Harlequin. My wife is really liking the 1-to-1 she has before for rolling J's for like hanging out with the neighbors. Maybe it's a campfire night with some beers to where she wants to smoke, but let's smoke some weed. And the 1-to-1 doesn't F you up that much. or maybe somebody else around the fire is like, I'll toke on that, but they're not a super toker, so you just want to keep them in the vibe too. So it's kind of like I always called it weed light. So I'm gonna get some Harlequin going, but it's a tough time, pigeons, because it's almost summertime is my joke, and I really like to not grow too much or be locked down to the grow. There's so much, I mean, you're over there, like when it's summertime, it's precious in Canada, and it's time to take advantage of the outdoors, just to go back to that. So I like to keep my grow weight light. If I fire up the main grow, which is a 12 by 5 foot wide, I'm probably only going to fire up half of it at the most, just so and AC won't go after it as much that way either. All my equipment will chill a little bit, but yeah, I want to focus on, it was that DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Summertime.
Summertime, yes.
I don't
Yes,
know.
that was. I totally feel you when it comes to getting outside. I definitely dial back in the summertime. Generally speaking, however, I am actually taking on a size of grow I've never even had before. I've upgraded huge as of
Really?
recent. Well, not necessarily upgraded. I've just started to finally use everything in tandem and together. And
You mean like for perpetual style? Like, are you trying to achieve?
yeah, see, like I've always just been very nonchalant. I never really, I just, I have a very hands-off approach.
Mhm.
I have other things to do approach. And for the first time, I've decided to go automation and having each tent full automation, talking to my phone and in so that I can keep everything consistent is a first. And that I've always had that for like a veg tent and or a flower tent, but I've never had it at the same time for a propagation system. I'm running a 5 tent setup.
Now, are you doing it I mean, obviously, it's your kind of your job. I call it our street cred, to be messing with this shit. Um, just to try and see if you can master it, or you want it to work while you're out of town, or, watch it. The best thing about automation is while you're there to test it, to watch it work in front of you, so you feel like everything's good. Don't set up automation like right before you go to town. I've done it before, and you're like, oh God.
Great advice.
Yeah. What's
Yep.
your goals with it?
Well, that's, yeah, essentially to be more hands off is the idea. I want to be able to have maximum going on in the tent, minimal amount of influence. I just want it to be kind of just like a conveyor system where it's like in, out, in, out, in,
So,
out.
but doesn't more hands off then potentially lead to less horticultural therapy, as I say? So you have more hands off your grow, and then to check on it, like I love my pulse grow, like what's everything doing in my tent right
Yep.
now? And the more to run it, you're
Valid.
looking at your screen more, and your head's less in those tents. You know what I mean? It's a slippery slope, I'll say. 'Cause
Yeah,
the more it's
see,
automated, the less you get to talk to those plants and have them talk with you.
yeah. The thing is that that's the part that I enjoy. I want to just
Yeah.
get in and take an observational standpoint rather than an interventional standpoint. I just
Oh,
feel
I dig what you're saying.
I just feel like, I still hand water my plants because I don't trust a man who doesn't hand water his plants. And so, but aside from that, it's, I want to make sure that everything's consistent. I'm not messing with anything. I don't want to touch the humidifier. I don't want to mess with my heater. I don't want to mess with the inline. I don't want to mess with the light. I don't want to do nothing. I just want to go in there and at most, like maybe flip something on my, I've come a long way. If you listen to me talk maybe just a year and a half, 2 years ago, I wasn't going to go automation at all because I thought I had it figured out just as is, but on my own. But the reality is if something goes wrong when I'm doing it on my own, I have no way to find out. And that's where automation essentially has the hands up where it's like, okay, if something floods, if something it gets too hot, if something gets too okay, for the record, if something floods, I have no way of finding out. I said that, but I have no way of finding out. But if something gets
Hey,
too
that's your
hot,
next challenge. You just said it out loud, so put that in your checklist
that's
because
it.
they have those too.
Someone's gonna come up with that. But yeah, so I want to know if the humidity spikes. I want to know if the temperature goes down. I want to see that. I want to know what's happening rather than coming in one night and being like, oh my
Yeah.
god, damn it. So that's what I want to get to, and automation offers me that. So that's why I've got this multi-tent setup going, so that I can just. Do you play video games, Brett?
I have not in a while. When's the last time? Super Mario. We have some type of Super Mario stuff because that stuff has always held its ground. Because I was OG. I was on the original Mario when I was a kid. So some of that is the last I played. I'll still play more of that if we got some Super Mario going on.
Well, I will definitely bring it because I've actually got a classic. This is a Nintendo classic right
Yeah,
here,
baby.
and this one
You got
fits in
some
the
Duck
palm of
Hunter
your
too?
hand. Do I got which?
Some Duck Hunter.
Yep. Yep.
I got the cheat code for Contra and Akira Warriors as well.
The reason I segued so fast to video games is because I played this game called Schedule 1 where you literally just take the ingredients. It's a drug simulating game. Take the ingredients, you plop them on the table. The table does its thing. You take it off the table, you put it on the dry rack. The dry rack does its thing. You take it off the dry rack, you put it in the the packaging thing. The packaging does its thing. You take it, you smoke it, you sell it, you do whatever. That's what I want my garden to be like. I just want to take the clones, put them in a pot.
That's a video game that you do all that in?
Allegedly, I read about it on the internet.
They've come a long way.
Yeah. You could say that. Yeah, you could say that. But that's what I want my garden to be like. I just want it to be just in and out, rinse and repeat. I don't want any surprises. I don't want any unknowns. That's what I'm looking for.
I'll watch my 20-year-old boy occasionally because he's pretty busy with what he does in his defense, but play GTA. And I'm like, I'll just sit there and watch it like a movie. And every once I'm like, dude, it looks so real. It's like, this isn't even, and he'll be like, Dad, this is from 2012.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Isn't that nuts? Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah,
I know.
scary.
I got stuck at 2 years. I lost 2 years of my life, believe it or not, to role playing in Grand Theft Auto. So I played as a cop, and then you would be in a server with 100+ other people, sometimes 1,000 other people, and some of them are other cops, some of them are lawyers, doctors, ambulance, drug dealers, and yeah, I became the commissioner of the state police, and I commanded a department of, somewhere upward of 50+ troopers and sergeants, and yeah, it gets very intense. You can get lost. You want to talk about wormholes? It's not good. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. What's one of the biggest misconceptions of dude?
Misconceptions of myself or the dude?
Of you. What's one of the biggest misconceptions of you? Of yours?
I'm perfect, bro. Just kidding.
Welcome.
If anybody, I mean, as far as my, what I put out there with the show and being Dude Grows, I'm not saying people think I fully am an expert grower. I do not at any time always know what I'm talking about with growing. It's always a learn in public type of thing. And it's, I'm not like, people used to call me back in the day, somebody in a court I lived on, hippie hybrid. It's like, I'm not full on embedded in the cannabis community with everything I do. I'm somewhat more of a host at times, which I'm totally down with because it's, a great show. It's kind of like wrangling the stuff. And at times I feel not guilty for doing that, but like, man, why do I got to be like this guy? But I don't know, maybe that's a misconception, Another misconception would be I'm just like everybody else. We went to an event in Missouri, the Common Ground Fair, shout out, walked around, and was more recognized than I had thought in the Midwest at this event, which is very humbling and super cool. and people being like, oh, it's, can't believe I'm hanging out. And it's like, dude, we're all alike. We're cannabis growers. We love this plant. So yeah, take it easy and all hang out together. And I don't know, I'm trying to think if I have anything else for you pitches on that one, but yeah, I'll think on it for a few. It's
That's
like
fair.
what's that? Actor's Studio or something, like this very pointed one point question. What is the go ahead.
No, I just have to smile. I just have to smile because you said, "Oh, great, time for a grow question," and I had to. There ain't nothing about growing on here. I very seldom dive into
Oh,
the
all good.
aspect of growing. No,
I
I just
always
love to have
like,
a conversation, and the best thing that I like is that anything can happen. It can go anywhere. You asked me in regards to do you have a direction or anything? The answer was no. No, I do not. No, I like to just kind of see where things go and have, and just kind of see. I like to pick the
that's
human
good.
brain. I love to have a conversation, and we are both Canadian, which is pretty sweet. A lot of people might not know that. But it's like we do have a lot in common, but it's like even though, we have a lot in common, we disagree on a lot of things, and I like to find those points too, because it's really thinking those things through that really can just make us decide on really where we want to sit on a particular subject or what have you. And cannabis content, you and I have been in this for a very long time, and cannabis content has come a very long way. And I honestly feel like I want to get to know the people behind the content who's been
Yeah.
providing the information and providing the content for so many years. You've been deleted, you've come back stronger, you're with an incredible team, you're doing some incredible things. And yeah, I like to dive into those kind of things. And I hope you know that, because the last time we had a conversation, you guys had your channel deleted, and it was like, where are we gonna go? Like you guys weren't at all not concerned, but you were definitely determined that you were gonna keep doing the same thing, running it, doing what you do, and the people love it.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that's a tough thing if you're content creators out there trying to understand why YouTube might be effing with you. And in the end, what we found what the issue was you can't link out in your show descriptions to third-party things selling seeds or anything else. But they don't tell you that at all. It took us a minute. It took us some strikes to figure that out. It's something very simple. But the determination when the channel was lost, just to talk about numbers, anybody out there that's doing a show thinking about numbers or worrying about too much about subscribers, it does have a significant impact depending on what you're trying to do. Is we lost our show with 100,000 subscribers, almost, and it's like, oh, that's when you get recognized and you feel kind of stoked. Pigeons, you've been there, you're at like 111 now, and then it just like gave us a fresh start. It was very a big blow, but then you're like, dude, it's not. Biggest quote that I love from Banner or Web Guy, it's not about the numbers, it's who's in the numbers. Because you can have YouTube channels or Instagram followers of unbelievable numbers, but it's a bunch of kind of BS mixed in there. You want who's your core crew. So it's really nice to know who's in our numbers. The DGC, they're really strong. They're very committed. They hang out a lot. They come over to realdgc.com, which is where we like to hang now, because still it seems like IG screwing with people more and more recently, which, damn, I hope that would just go away. I don't get it. We just tried to do a little ad campaign on Facebook for the DGC Cup, and boom, within a week, you're shut down. So it sucks to see this discrimination against we're just trying to be legit. So
I feel you. I feel you. And I can appreciate your pain. I can appreciate your pain. And you know what? It's one of those things. After speaking with Todd McCormick was a big one. Danny Danko was another one. They both really opened my eyes in regards to the problems that we face today, the new prohibition, the new censorship is nothing compared to yesterday and yesteryear. The reality is it's a new battle today. And you know, we don't have to think of this as like I'm not a soldier or no frontier or none of that. It's that cannabis has an uphill battle, and people have to continue the conversation and speak up. And I can appreciate that when you guys went down, you guys came back, and your guys' numbers have done absolutely incredible. And so I hats off. I can do that. I got some hair still.
Cheers. It's like, you know, it's just like you guys. A shout out to the team. Anybody, you build a team.
Beautiful
You're out
team.
there trying to do something. Having, you know, our team was all built within listeners. You know, One Eyed Cat Cannabis. Shout out Grambo, JR Token, J Maestro, Banner, High C. Almost all these people came from just within people listening to the show. Sometimes pay attention to those people in comments. There can be some really valuable people in there. But yeah, it's just definitely been a great way to build. And you mentioned, you know, as far as prohibition, it looks, you know, people like it's legal in Canada, yay. There's a bunch of states that are super free, but we have businesses. Seeds Here Now, we just had on our show, and he's still having trouble with credit card processors in 2025. Like, you know, so some of the business things you know, be careful to protect Dude Grows merch site. I can't put a piece of glass on there. I got to list it weirdly as some type of other bundle. And so some of that shiz is still going on. So it does suck for just trying to make sure, you know, run a business properly.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. But you know what? Let's talk about the DGC because we have the opportunity to. And man, DGC coming up June 6th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, DGCcup.com, the first weekend of June. June 7th is the Flower Cup. June 8th is the Hash Bash, which is all concentrates.
Got
First
the
year we're
link.
doing that. June 7th, we already have over 50 competitors entering their homegrown flower. Everybody that attends is a judge. You get a custom DGC Glass 1 hitter, official BIC DGC lighter. I say BIC because we get some legit lighters. And voting tokens, wooden voting tokens. You go around, you try all the weed you can. You decide, hey, what this one, you know, obviously it's hard to judge on highness, right? You got to look at your smell, appeal. We have everything in the lit up LED smoke focus jars as well. So you can really go down on the magnify. You can look at the trikes and things if you want. And have a proper like 5-hour long tasting. And at the end of it, it's like a 1 day, you know, judges pick all, done. At the end of the day, we have prizes for the top 3, trophies. And other than that, it's a great place. We have multiple breeders, genetics, Irie genetics, hard reset genetics. Man, off the top of my head, I could go on for a while. A lot of live genetics, clones, you know, some different fungi, if you will. All types of things going on in the market at the Cup as well. So really good time.
That's
So,
sweet.
and this year, I'll just
Please.
you got me going.
No, please continue.
It is at a new venue, Longmont, Colorado, which is out of not too far, about 40 minutes out of Denver. It's on over a 100-acre farm with this beautiful view of the Front Range Colorado mountains. If you've never been out to Colorado, or even if you have, it's this really nice place just to hang out, get high, chill, and have a good time.
It is beautiful. I can attest. I have been out there that way, and yeah, I am very excited to. Boys and I are working overtime to get out there to make sure we can get out there. And man, I'm stoked. I cannot wait to participate in it. I've known about the DGC Cup for many years, and to hear that there's a possibility that I could actually attend is a pretty big deal to me. So I'm very excited for it. We've been sharing the link. People know all about it, and yeah, how did that get started? How did you get that started?
That was way back in the day when Scotty likes to throw a lot of crazy shit at the wall, which is fine because when you throw enough shit at the wall, something's gonna stick. And he's like, let's do a competition event. In the first year, we found an art studio in, I think it was Rhino District in Denver, smaller art studio, but this couple was open to our idea. And they're like, it's fine, but people just have to smoke outside. And they set up this little bar. 80 people showed up, I think. And that was 2016, I believe. And it just kept building from there. There was an awesome place in Denver called Cultivated Synergy, which is a huge warehouse that was a gem. It was a big warehouse in a hip district in Denver that was all about like-minded cannabis people During the week, they'd have shared cubicles of different cannabis businesses, reporters, whatever. Um, Weeknights or weekend, they'd rent it out. You could do whatever, and you were allowed to fully burn down in there. When I say warehouse, like it was really nice, like they had a full proper kitchen, everything redone, and this huge exhaust fan. So you could really, we had that for 2 years or so with about 300 plus people. And then COVID killed it. And then we were like, damn, we have to found, it's really hard to have a cannabis smoking event because they don't want you to be inside. The Clean Air Act, really, unless you find, you got to go through the network of who on the down low has these warehouse hangouts. And I don't have all those connects. So now we've been renting these huge circus tents and just having a party, beautiful outside Colorado. That's how it's worked.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, very inspirational. I'm glad that A, you continued to do it, and B, that it's still a thing even after COVID, because you're right. Trying to have any event post COVID / post COVID is difficult enough, let alone having a consumption event. And man,
Yeah.
I'm stoked for that. I'm stoked for that. How it must be pretty difficult to coordinate the judges and the contest itself. Walk me through that. What's that like?
Like contest logistics. Since
Yeah.
it's now been in the 9th year or so, I learned to not volunteer a lot of stuff out. For the past 2 years, local dispensary called Verts. We have a head bud tender that I've had, and I have him coordinate. Hey, I need 12 people, 15 people to bud tend. I want you to, get all of them. You're in charge of all of them, and like just delegating stuff out.
Smart.
That's a huge thing to be able to enjoy your own event. Last year is the first year I got really close to it. The first years before that, I'm always running around like crazy to the point where you'd see people that want to hang out or meet you or just jive, and they wouldn't approach you because you were walking so fast or just being involved with the event. So learning to and it takes that to build an event, but delegate stuff out and have a trusted team like we were talking about earlier. Now we have Warehouse Kyle, Max Microbes, we call him DGC EMT. He's EMT certified, so we have an EMT there. We have like a handful of 4 or 5 cats on the walkies, and just get rid of some of your own responsibilities and prep far ahead. I thought I was getting good at this, pigeons, where my wife was like, maybe like we could do this as a job, like for early retirement and have fun with it. I'm like, man, one a year. No, one a year is good. If I had one a month or two, watch what you take the fun out of. Kind of like becoming a commercial grower, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that going down. You're right about delegating, though. When you speak like that, it reminds me of my wedding, dude. Because we decided to hire a planner. Well, not a planner per se. Oh yeah, we had my wife's over there like, yep. So we hired a planner. The decorator. We had everything was dealt by other people, and all we had to do was like go in, sit down, and pick colors and songs, and it was hard enough as it was. The problem is that, well, it was a great, no, I guess I had a problem with that, but the reality is that it works very well in terms of being able to soak up the event. Problem was I had too much to soak up and I had no way to distract myself. So all I had was the event, my wedding, and it was like overwhelming. Oh, but smart. Delegating the tasks.
You know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it takes a minute to get there with anything you're building. Like I said, be patient. Be consistent. Consistency is one of the hardest things. So that as somebody that's doing a YouTube show, consistency took a while for us to get taught. We're like, oh, we can just release a show here now and then, and whenever we'll do it. And like, no, you got to be consistent. So.
Yeah. Consistency over time equals results. I heard it. I heard that. Might have been Franklin the Turtle. I can't remember. But if I was to ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself, dude?
That's one of those things where it's, anybody should ask themselves that, right?
Yep.
It's a good checkup, and sometimes it might make you freak out a little bit, like it has myself. It's like, I'm like, man, you know, something when, let's say you get canceled or this or that, it's like, what else would I do, dude? And I literally don't have anything that just, ping, I'm going to do this. You know, I usually don't think that far ahead. I'm more of a guy that's good in the not emergency moment, but being like, oh, snap. You know, when my wife got a promotion to go to BC, we had about, you know, 6 months to sort, you know, 6 months to move to a different country, sort everything out, figure out what you're doing, move quick. I'm pretty good at that. The 5-year thing, I'm not as good at. So it's like, I don't know, man. It gives me a little bit of anxiety at times. But I'd like to think what I'm doing 5 years from now is still be relevant in this scene. You know, we spread across some different demographics for sure with our two shows. I guess I'll be Scotty's age 5 years from now. He seems relevant. So we'll be all right.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. And I think you will. And you know what? I agree. I think you're right in terms of you do have to think about this because you know what? I hope I'm not in the same place I am now. I hope that things have gotten brighter. You know, I hope, you know, I've got dreams of being noticed by somebody recognizing, you know, something. You know, I've always wanted to do some acting. I always wanted to become a competitive gamer. You know, that's huge because I want to like infiltrate these places as a stoner. Because it's like,
Watch out for that wormhole.
yeah, there's tons of them, dude. There's tons of them. Let me tell you. I just want to be the first. It's like I feel like actors they're only pro weed after they become an actor, right? There's only a very few actors out there that are weed before an actor. So it's like, you know, I wouldn't mind doing that. And the same with gaming. Same with gaming. So the thing is to hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable. So to be relevant in this space in 5 years from now would be impressive because to even still be relevant after all these years is impressive.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's the best thing is I just hope to keep talking to people, um, giving them company during the day, entertaining them. First and foremost, Dude Grow shows about, you know, feeling like you're hanging out the bro token, being entertained, learning something here and there, and just chilling, you know. And that's what the most all of our shows have been about. At times we've argued about we need to deliver more of this information or that information. You know, it's always about let's make sure we're hanging out and having a good time, making people feel the same. Because there's a lot of people out there that just are in their commercial growers. They're in a prohibition state. Many people that have gone through either a loss or a withdrawal or whatever they're doing, they just like the company. So I really hope I can keep giving that company.
Good for you. Good for you. Do you think weed will be legalized in 5 years?
On the federal level in the
Yeah.
states?
Yeah, I guess in the
Uh,
States, yeah.
No clue, to be honest. I think during the current administration, I would say I heard Trump say we're just going to let the states be the states, let each state decide, you know, what they want to do. You know, part of me is like I guess they think they got enough shit to deal with. I don't see them taking the time to really look at it. It always bounces back and forth between bunch of houses this, the Senate that, they want this, and then none of it is ever gone anywhere for so long. I've literally paid almost no attention until I have the most attention grabbing headline, which still I haven't had. Like, give me something for real, people. Like, give me something I could do something with. Otherwise, I don't think so. I'm not against let the states do what the states do, but again, that whole federal thing does affect what we were talking about earlier. Credit card processing, people like me and you trying to operate a legitimate business. I mean, it's federally legal here in Canada. I still operate out of the States for Dude Grows. But there's all types of loopholes that I wish I didn't have to go through.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing here. Same thing here. And I of course I'm hopeful, but the reality is I do not believe that it'll be legal anytime soon. It just doesn't interest the powers that be. You know what I mean? It just a populace that thinks critical isn't one that I feel like really is something that people of power really want. They much rather have you and I fighting over things that we've been talking about for what feel like hundreds of years already. Brett, so if anyone wanted to reach out to you, if anybody wanted to reach out to Dude Grows or head out to the Dude Grows Cup, where would they do so?
So DGCcup.com, that's easy. Go there. All the information is there. There's still competitor entries if you want to compete, if you want to judge. Everything's at DGCcup.com. Honestly, what I keep track of the most for me, RealDGC.com is totally free to join. We created this community that has groups and forums and news feed, kind of like, we have 5,244 users as of now because we just recorded a show today. So I think that's why I know that number fresh. But it's a lot of growers and it's a friendly community. So, and when you join RealDGC.com for free, I check all my messages over there. Like, I pay attention to that every day because it's more valuable than any other, my email or whatever. Like, this is the DGC. And if you're confused about anything, just yell "Dude Grows" at your phone, and you'll find plenty of shiz.
I know the great search engine optimization, as some fella in my DMs will be telling me. Brother, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you tonight. I cannot wait to run into you again. This was a pleasure.
Yeah, I missed you. I missed you in Colorado. I was just there, and then you came through. Next time for sure. I appreciate for having me on. I'm gonna go do one of my 1-hour plant trims. I have 2 plants left. People are gonna call me weak sauce. Like, I only trim an hour at a time. Otherwise,
I don't blame you.
If you trim too long, it can get sloppy too. You got to watch that. You don't want to be the sloppy trimmer,
You are 100% right. I can see which stuff I started with and which stuff I finished with, because the stuff I finished with is still all intact and just in the bag. Yeah, wise advice. Brett, thank you so much for being on, brother. I appreciate you. Brett from the Dude Grows Show, thank you so much for being here. Best of luck to everything you do and to your future, and I will hope to see you in just a few weeks.
Right on. Cheers. Have a good eve.
Thanks, brother. You too. Thank you, man. Peace. Wow. Absolute epic conversation. Very thankful that I could have that conversation with him. Brett's a great dude, and I'm very proud to be able to say that I am friends with the dudes over at the Dude Grows Show, and that goes for everyone. That goes for Grambo. That goes for Banner. That goes for Scotty. And everyone is putting in time over there, man, because it takes a team, as they said, to have themselves working and performing at such a high level. Because if you're not watching right now, Dude Grows is doing they thing over here on YouTube. So I'm very proud of them.